Hi, I thought I would be doing a quick video on Argentina and their currency, mostly called the peso, but also the Austral, but mostly peso. So these are the oldest that I have. These are the peso moneda nacional. As we can see over there. So this is the peso introduced in 1881 and lasted until 1970. We can, I believe the Argentinian banknotes have no years on them, so they are dated using the signatures of the bank people. This one in particular is from between 1956 and 1958. And it's 10 pesos, 10 pesos from El Banco Central de la República Argentina. We can quickly also look at the other side. Probably the Declaration of Independence, of Constitution perhaps. Moving on, we also have from 1956 to 1958, 50, 50 pesos, this one green instead of red, but with the same general. Not sure who in particular it is, but with this one we have the generals speaking or watching over their men, crossing the Andes perhaps. Moving on, in 1970 to 1971, the so-called peso ley were introduced. And this is un peso, 1 peso. And it's called the peso ley because it's ley, which I guess means law. I actually didn't check that, but it makes sense. If it doesn't mean law, I will correct myself. And I believe this is Manuel Belgrano, a founding father of Argentina. This banknote not in a good condition. By the way, you might be wondering what the exchange rate were between the old peso and the peso ley. There was 1 peso ley for each, for every 100 old peso. So there would have been 2 of these green banknotes 50 pesos for one of these. Moving on to 1973, we have this excellent condition 10 10 pesos, which would have equaled 1000 of the old pesos. And there it even says Belgrano. They probably did on the upper one as well. Yeah, it was just hard to see it being worn down. This one featuring a waterfall. Cataratas del Iguazu. Absolutely forgive my pronunciation of that. And here we have 1977 to 1978, 100 100 pesos with General San Martin. Looks like a harbor and a mountain range. In 1982, from 1982, probably issued earlier, I have this 500 500 pesos, also in with San Martin, also in well, that one wasn't in excellent condition. This one is though. So now we got them really cheap, like that one, and this one also rather cheap for being excellent condition, that is, uncirculated. Featuring soldiers on top. On top of a hill. Probably some Argentinian historical significance. Moving on, from 1980 to 1981, we have this 1000 pesos with San Martin once again. This one featuring the presidential palace, perhaps. Does it say? Plaza de Mayo, Buenos Aires. And then we have these 10 pesos, which looks rather familiar. but also not. It's on 1983 to 1984 pesos argentinos. Yes, they changed the currency, but barely anything else really. So the peso argentino was introduced in 1983 and would only last for 2 years. It featured a redenomination where 10,000 peso lei would equal 1 peso argentina. Argentino, which would mean, adding 4 zeros, this is 100,000 peso lei. That's a shitload of money, theoretically at least. And this one featuring once again the waterfall that was featured on that one. Yeah, indeed, the old 10. The old 10 had Belgrano, the new 10 had San Martin. Moving on, we have San Martin once again with the 100 pesos argentinos. This one from 1983. Not anything noteworthy really. Again with the harbor and the mountain range. Like the 100 had before it. Then in 1985, due to still rising inflation, Argentina adopted the Austral. Here we see one Austral from the Banco Central de la República Argentina. In particular, an issue from 1986. The Austral, one Austral is worth 1,000 pesos argentinas. Meaning it would equal 10 of these. Would be one of these. Previously we have had similar designs for the banknotes, but here they actually make a detour and change up the design. But not overly complicated. Less detailed portraits. Simpler design. Another one un Austral that we have is this one from the Provincia de Tucumán. Bonos de cancelación de deudas. From, or I believe it was valid or would be redeemed in 1991. But we can see on the back side that it's issued in 1988. So this is a local banknote issued by the provincial authorities with lots of terms and services, I suppose, on the backside. Where we can also see that, yes, issued in 1988 with a decree of number 307/3. And here we had the famous 100 Australes. Or is it Australos? No, it's Australes. 100 Australes. With a grumpy old man. He really looked like that though. That was his resting face. These were issued between 1987 and 1989. And here we have 1000 Australes, issued between 1988 and 1989. And finally, we have the final currency, which I haven't dated, but I believe it's from around 2000 and 2002. The newest and current currency of Argentina. Might soon be replaced, I suppose, because Argentina is once again seeing major inflation. But this one, 2 pesos, dos pesos, is the peso convertible, or the convertible peso, named such because it was redeemable for American dollars, meaning that it would keep its value and could always be exchanged for dollars. And that lasted until, and was stable until 2001, 2002, I believe, when it started, when that convertibility was dropped and it started to float away and further away and away. But once it was par, convertible, 1 peso to $1, and today it's over 1,000 pesos for every American dollar. So it has gone to shit, is the easy way to tell that story. And how was the exchange rate, you might wonder. 10,000 Australes would give you 1 convertible peso, meaning 20,000 Australes would be needed to get one of these banknotes. República Argentina, Unión y Libertad. Yes. So, summarizing up what we have here today. $10 pesos from 1956 equals, or no, we have to go the other way around. To get the value of 1 peso today, we would need 1 trillion of these banknotes. 1 trillion. And that's the short scale, I believe it's called. So it's 3, 6, 9, 12 zeros. 1 American trillion of these banknotes, because 1 peso today is 10 trillion pesos moneda nacional, meaning that the 10 peso banknote would only require 1 trillion to equal 10 peso, or equal 1 peso. Yes, indeed. But if you're lucky and have these ones, what's 1 trillion divided by 5? 1 trillion is 1,000 billions, right? So that would equal, and I will correct myself in text if I get it wrong, but it would equal 1/5, meaning 200 billion of these ones. Just 200 billions. Yeah, thank you for watching. It's quite hilarious to count like that.